Hey everyone, welcome to the Royce Reports. I am your host, Royce, and on today's video, I'm going to talk about how you can save hundreds, that's right, hundreds, close to $1,000 by buying these games digitally today. So, let's talk about it. This is an Xbox-centric channel, and if you like talking about games a little bit too much, be sure to hit that subscribe button. With the success of my last video, which I appreciate all of you guys for clicking and watching, a little bit of tips and tricks for you on regards to the Xbox 360 storefront closing on July 29th, and I thought that I'd make this video as well to kind of go over a couple of ways that you can actually save money by buying games digitally that are still available physically. That once the store closes, you're going to lose the ability to purchase these games physically, and thus the only way you can access them is through physical means. Now, I saw a lot of people talking on my last video about potentially getting an Xbox and getting it RGH'd, right, and having it modded and all that.
You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
And that is completely a viable option, and I recommend people actually looking into this because it is a great means for people to go and still access a lot of these games, as well as being able to play OG Xbox games, PlayStation 1 games, DS games, all of that. With that said, this video is not directed towards people who are having RGHs, right? This is dedicated to people who prefer to have the more authentic experience of being able to experience their games in the way that they were supposed to be played, how they're meant to be played. And this is also not for people who are more physically oriented. Myself is someone who is a big physical media person. I'm a huge fan of that, and I actually collect a lot of Xbox 360 games physically, but at the same time, I really don't want to spend $220 for a game when I could buy it for $50, and that'll save me quite a bit of cash and allow me to buy other games either physically or digitally to allow me to experience those as well. But as it stands right now, you will be saving hundreds of dollars by purchasing these games all digitally. So with that said, let's get started. First up is Fist of the North Star Ken's Rage 2. This is a game that is based off an anime franchise, and for whatever reason, it is going for $220 on eBay for a complete in-box setup. Now, this game is sort of very akin to the Dynasty Warriors type games, where it's kind of like you go through linear passageways and you just fight off a bunch of enemies, but this game is probably the most expensive Xbox 360 game at the moment. But you can still buy this game on the Xbox 360 store itself. It is still pretty steep. It's still going for about $50, but $50 is a lot better than $220. That saves you close to $200 right there on it's just this game alone. There's still also DLC for it, so with the money saved, you can purchase all the DLC and be fine regardless. Another game that you should probably purchase before the store closes is Fatal Inertia. This game is probably on a lot of people's lists right now because of the fact that it's going for $120 complete in box, but it's actually $20 for the digital version on the Xbox storefront. This is a game that's very similar to F-Zero. If you're someone who's a fan of the F-Zero series and you really want to play a game similar to that on the Xbox, this is the way to go. It's a very fun arcadey game, and I highly recommend picking this one up. This is a great addition to your collection, and to avoid having to pay 120 upwards of 120, you can definitely cop it on the digital storefront. Armored Core Verdict Day is another game that's seeing a huge price inflection right now. It's going for approximately $100 on eBay and Mercari and things, but you can buy this game for 20 bucks on the storefront. The other Armored Core games are starting to rise in price as well, but sadly those are not available digitally. Might as well purchase it on the digital storefront, see if you like it, and if you do, then you can save up and purchase the other games in the series. But this is more of a mech action game, very similar to Mech Assault. It is still being made to this day by From Software. They released the recent Armored Core to critical success, and it's a highly recommended game from a lot of people. So you can kind of see where they got their roots from, being the 5th edition of, you know, Armored Core. Tornado Outbreak is surprisingly a game that is going for around $80 complete in box right now. But the game itself is available on the storefront for $5. This game is a very gimmicky arcade game. It's just you as a tornado doing destruction on houses and businesses and stuff. It's a very arcadey game, something that you could probably just pick up and let go. Not something that you really need to hyper focus on, but for whatever reason, if you want to avoid the physical edition of it and not have to worry about collecting an $80 game, then the $5 route is definitely the way to go if you want to pick this one up. Bullet Witch is also another game that's seeing a lot of price increases at the moment. It's going for around $75, but on the store right now you can get it for $20. It is a game that kind of reminds me a lot of what Bayonetta is. It seems like it's a very early rendition of Bayonetta. It's a little bit different, but it's definitely an underrated gem, one of those games that you might play and enjoy a lot, and when you talk to other people, they don't really know what you're talking about. They think you're crazy and going to Lulu, and they're telling you that it's actually Bayonetta that you're thinking of, but it's really not. It's actually Bullet Witch that you're thinking of. And they accuse you of these things. So definitely recommend picking it up on Xbox 360 Marketplace for $20, Vice paying the $75 for it. Dark is actually another game that I recommended in my previous video, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it's on sale right now for $2, and it's going for around $50 on eBay. You can think of this as an easy sacrifice. $2, Vice paying $50 for a game that you might enjoy. There's also an expansion to it, so DLC with it as well. So if you want to purchase that, pick it up, and it also adds achievements to it. For $2, it's definitely not going to break the bank, and it's a good addition. Dark Messiah is another game that is going for around $60 right now, and it's actually on sale for $4. It is a RPG that's very linear. There's levels and stuff, but it's still very RPG-esque. $4, can't go wrong. This game is only going to go up in price once the store closes. I highly recommend making the purchase right now. Again, $4, not too much, doesn't really break the budget, a good addition as well. 99 Nights 2 is a game that's also seeing a pretty decent price hike. It's currently going for around $75 for a complete in box. You can pick it up on the Xbox storefront for about $20. It's a direct sequel to 99 Nights 1, and it's a very Dynasty Warriors-esque game with the whole premise of, you know, you being able to beat 1,000,000 soldiers. That's what it's mostly famous for. $7 is a lot better than 75, so if you want to purchase the game physically, you can still do that. To avoid that unnecessary price hike, $7 is also not too bad of a deal. I said this on the previous video as well, but Legend of Spyro going for $10 right now. This game I know for a fact is going to jump in price the moment the store closes, because this game is a game that throughout my years of collecting, I have always seen it stick around that 30 to 40 price range. It never fluctuated. It was always around that same price range, and I know that once the store closes and you can no longer get it digitally, that's just going to cause the game to go up. So $10, this is for sure a game that's going to hike up in price the moment the store closes. I highly recommend trying this out, and it's actually an underrated Spyro game. So if you miss Spyro, now's your chance to kind of go back and experience kind of a weird era for that character. Eternal Sonata is a game that I see on a lot of people's lists, and I thought I would just add it just for the sake of it, but it's currently going for around $45 for a complete in box, but on the store itself it is selling for $15 at the moment. This is another thing about these JRPGs, is that once the store closes, some of these JRPGs that are both physical and digital are going to go up in price due to the fact that you can no longer buy them digitally, and because JRPG games on the Xbox 360 are sort of a rare lot, they are going to continue to increase these prices. Of course, you're going to have exceptions like Lost Odyssey or Infinite Undiscovery, because of the nature of these games, like Blue Dragon. They're all available digitally. They're marketed very highly. A lot of people talk about these, and because they're backwards compatible, those games probably not going to see a big price hike. But games like Eternal Sonata and a handful of other ones are probably going to see that price hike. Another series like Death Smiles, right? These games You can buy them digitally if you want, but the moment that the store closes, they're just gonna skyrocket just because they're JRPGs and they're considered rare. So if you want to do yourself a favor, this is probably a game that will jump up in price. Eternal Sonata, $15 versus $45. Otomedius Excellent is a on-rails shooter that is also a Japanese sort of game that is available digitally right now. It's currently going for $20 digitally, but for physically is going for $45. So you're not saving too much money by buying this right now. At least that's not what it seems like. These Japanese games that Microsoft were really focusing on during this era, that try to get as much different variety over to the 360. These games, once they're gone, they are going to be really hard to find for a cheap price, because everyone's just going to inflate the prices for these games. And for some reason, rail shooters were really popular during this era, but this is another one that a lot of people are speculating will be jumping up in price. So if you want to avoid that, be sure to buy it now. You still are kind of, you know, net positive, but once it goes away, the only way you get this is through physical means. Now, these next two are kind of weird just due to the nature of them, but Watchmen, The End Is Nigh Part 1 and Part 2. These are both available digitally right now. You can buy them on an Xbox 360. The first one is going for $20. The second one is going for $15. So $35 in total. But trying to find this game physically is a real pain. The only ones I've actually gotten to see were complete in box, like brand new titles going for $100. So if you go off of that, then you're saving money. But I can't really give you a price of what an open box, what a, you know, one without the pamphlet or anything would actually cost you, or it will end up being for you. So this could end up being one of those situations where people find out that this game is no longer available digitally, and now that they go and start selling these physical copies, have these just skyrocket to the moon due to the nature of the fact that it's forever gone. So if you're interested in Watchmen, if you're interested in DC comics and all that, then this is definitely something that you should pick up. But if not, no worries. It's still available physically. It's just kind of hard to find. Another one that's kind of a random one that you probably have not heard a lot of people talk about is Cars Race-O-Rama. This is available digitally. It is not backwards compatible, and for some reason I cannot find a decent copy online. Every time I look on eBay or through Macari, they have these generic posts that don't look like, you can't really get an idea of what the condition of the game is, or the games that they do have for sale are in terrible condition, either without a manual, without a actual box, and it's only disc only. There is no complete in box copies of this that I can find, or any condition that I would think is worthy of paying full price for. So right now this game is going for $20 on the marketplace. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with this game. I don't think it's really going to go up in price, but I just think it's kind of odd, and I kind of want to add it to the list so that way you're aware. And maybe if you're hunting for a complete collection and you spot it in the wild, you might want to pick it up because it's kind of hard to find. Now, the next games I'm going to be bringing up are kind of odd because these games are going to be available to you even after the store closes. That's right. They are not going anywhere. So that's why I kind of added them after the fact. But these games, they're backwards compatible with the Xbox Series X and S as well as the Xbox One. So if the storefront closes on July 29th, you'll still be able to access these games. But for whatever reason, the physical version of these games are actually going for a lot of money right now. Onechanabra, that's right, I don't know how to pronounce that right. I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. This game is going for a pretty penny right now. For some reason, this game is going for around $100 complete in box, and you can buy it on the store right now for $15. Again, this is not a game that's going to be going anywhere, so you don't really have to jump on this right now, but $15 is sure a hell of a lot better than $100. This game is more of an arena arcade beat 'em up where you just kind of go and just beat zombies to death, and you just build up a combo, and you get points, and you can upgrade your character. It's a very slow paced game. It's pretty grindy. I think the whole idea of the game is to try to sell you on panties.
Could you perhaps show me your panties?
Yeah, right!
So you know, for some reason, this era of Xbox 360 games, a lot of games tried to sell people on the idea of being able to see upskirt shots. So if that's something that you're really motivated to see, Onechanabra is your go-to game, along with the Lollipop Chainsaw. You know, go check out those games if you're someone who enjoys that type of stuff. Speaking of panties, Rumble Roses is another game that's going for a decent amount of money, despite it also being available through backwards compatibility. Complete in Box is going for around $65. You can buy it on the marketplace right now for $15. There is a lot of DLC attached to this, so all that DLC that you buy might eventually equate to the $65 you would have spent if you would have bought it physically, but most of the DLC is just skins anyways. But it's just a wrestling game with girls that are in very little clothing. Asura's Wrath is another game that is actually going for a lot of money right now. It's currently going for $70 physical. You can buy this for $20, and again, it is available on Xbox Series S, X, and the Xbox One, so you're not going to be missing out on this once the store closes. But this is a game that is very cool. It is filled with over-the-top, larger-than-life cutscenes that are quick time events galore. If you're into that, this is the game for you. But little disclaimer, if you want to get the full story for the game, because the game does end on a cliffhanger, then you're going to have to buy the DLC in order to find out what really goes on. But again, not having to buy physically, you can use that money that you're going to spend on the physical version and you can just buy the DLC, or actually wait as long as you'd like, because there is really no point in buying this game. Because guess what? It's available through backwards compatibility. Last but not least is Deadly Premonition. This is another game that if you enjoy Silent Hill, if you enjoy Alan Wake and Resident Evil, this kind of combines all those together. It's a story about an FBI agent who goes to a small town to investigate some murders. So very akin to, I guess, Condemned, except more of a third-person action adventure. This is another game that is currently going for around $50 for a complete in box, but if you want it on the Xbox Series X, S, Xbox One, or Xbox 360, it is currently going for $20. So it's still a pretty steep price, but you know, this is something that might go up in price at some point. Who really knows what the price is going to be after this, but you don't have to worry because it's going to be available to you after the store closes. I also want to apologize. My light went out, so I'm going to have to do this video kind of half lit. Big bummer, but we move on. We move through the issues, right? That's what we do here. If you like what you see, then be sure to hit that subscribe button, because I can work through it. I can do it. So if you're not aware, there is an Xbox 360 sale going on the marketplace right now, and Capcom came in clutch and actually cares about us and is actually offering a lot of their games for a bargain. A lot of the Resident Evil games are going for about $1, like Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil Original HD Collection or whatever, Resident Evil 0. The Dead Rising games are also going for $1. So if there's something that you want to, you know, pick up before the store closes, that'll definitely save you the price of buying these games. They're not very expensive physically, but you know, it all adds up eventually. So if you're interested in the Resident Evil games or the Dead Rising games, those are also going for about $1. So that covers all of these games that you should probably pick up before the store closes, so that way you're not spending an astronomical amount of money on the physical. I added it up, added all of this up, right? Digital and the physical versions. If you pay for the physical versions in the state that they are currently in right now, and the way I ended up getting these was taking an average. So this isn't the most expensive game. Like, it's not the most expensive version of that game, but it's also not the least expensive version. It's sort of in the middle. It's typically what you would pay for a good condition, complete in box game. So after I added all that up, you would end up paying, if you bought all these physically at the market price today, $1,205. Now, that is a lot of dough to be spending. That's a lot of dough to be spending for some games that, you know, you're not going to know if you like or not. But if you actually bought these games digitally through the storefront, the price would be $243. Now, just FYI, I did not include the Watchmen in this, and I did not include the Cars game because those prices I can't really get a good grasp on those games, so I can't really add them to this. But regardless, you're saving close to $1,000 by buying those games that I listed in this video alone digitally versus buying them physically. So do yourself a favor and make sure you're checking these games out. Check them out and see if they're the games that you want to play and buy. And you know, something like Dark Messiah, copping those for $2 or $4 is definitely a lot better than spending $100 on those two titles, right? So this is I hope this works out for you. I hope this helps. And I did not also include the prices for the Resident Evil games because those physical versus digital is also going to sway. I think most of the Resident Evil games are going for like 10 to 15 bucks right now. So if you just add them as well, you're saving even more money. Yeah, it's crazy. All right, so this video all hinges on just the market value for these games at the moment. This is in July of 2024, so maybe next month some of these games are going to go up in price and you've saved even more money, or some of these games are going to fall in price and that value has now dwindled. It's a market that you're never going to be able to determine or predict, and you'll just never know what games are going to be expensive and what aren't. So sadly, these can all change, and you know, maybe you missed out, maybe you didn't, but it's all up to you whether or not you want to add this to your collection. So that's it. That's the whole video right there for you. Just so you know, I'm not going to make another video regarding the Xbox 360 and the store and all that. This is the last video I'll be making. I'm just using this as a means to inform you that there is other alternate methods to these games. You can still get them through digital, and even though they're available physically, even though they're super expensive right now on physical, you can still buy them digitally and save yourself some money. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you have any recommendations, be sure to drop them in the comments. I'm interested to know what you guys are purchasing before the final days of the Xbox 360 storefront. Be sure to tell me what you guys are buying and if this list helped you by any means. Be sure to subscribe. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate all of you guys for even clicking on watching this, and if you've gotten to this far, thank you. I really do appreciate it. But time for me to go, so I'll be seeing you on the next one, and remember, take it easy.